morning. My name is Al Edford. This is the vineyard at St. Joseph's. What we'll be doing today is going through a talk on rough pruning of Marquettes. Marquette is a hybrid of what's called the Vineyard Sacramental family, which was specifically bred for cold temperature vineyards, specifically bred by the University of Minnesota about 10 years ago for what's called cold hardiness. However, before we get into the pruning technique, I'd like to walk you through exactly what this vineyard is. This vineyard at St. Joe's is comprised of approximately 2,000 plants. Rieslings over there, Gamay across the road, Marquettes here. Now, the plants as well as the training wires, poles, steel poles, the trellis type of arrangement actually was donated by Bob and Nadine Began of Chateau Chantel. They put the vineyard in. What we do as volunteers under the Vineyard and Sacramental Wine Ministry of St. Joe's, we actually now maintain the vineyard, we harvest the crop, and we ask the vineyards or the wineries on Old Mission Peninsula to in fact process our wine, which in fact is an ultra wine and 2 private labels. This year, Chateau Chantel is processing our wine. Now, let's get back to pruning of the Marquettes. Like I said, the Marquette was specifically bred for cold hardiness. The other type of variety of grapes and vines, which is called a Vitis Vinerea, can only withstand about a 29 degrees Fahrenheit before it will start to incur what we call cold injury or freeze damage. What the cold weather does to that variety, it will actually kill the buds and it will damage the canes and the trunks. Whereas the hybrid, the Marquettes, are bred to withstand at least a minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And they are bred for cold climate type of vineyards, anywhere from Washington State to Vermont. The reason why, in fact, we put the vineyards in, the Marquettes, as a hedge against extreme cold and deep freeze, which of course we have had in the years 2014 and 2015. Now, let's get back to actually these particular Marquettes that in fact we are going to prune. These are 3-year-old Marquettes, or what they call 3-leaf. And you will notice that after 3 years, we have in fact generated, what is called relatively 3-year wood. As you can see here, this particular plant, which is typical of all the Marquettes in this particular section of vineyard, has generated canes. This one has in fact generated, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4 relatively good canes and some little small canes coming out of the base. What we will do at this particular time is we will probably retain maybe 3 of these 4 or 5 good canes. And during winter pruning, the canes that we will retain in their entirety without cutting off the tips. the reason for that is what's going to occur and is different with regard to the structure of the Marquette versus that of the Riesling. The reason why we will retain the entire cane is because what we will be doing is we will take two canes. One cane we will cordon, what is called, or twist it and lay it horizontal on the very top wire, which would be our cordon wire on the Marquettes, versus the cordon wire on the other varieties was down here. So the Marquettes will be cordoned on the top wire, and their foliage and their clusters will actually grow downward and the fruit will be suspended. So what we'll do eventually, in our final pruning, we will cordon one of these cords this way, and then take another cane and we will cordon it on the same top wire, but in the opposite direction. Okay, that's the principle of pruning the Marquettes, so we can get the maximum yield of fruit. Now, as I said before, we have several good young canes coming out of the bottom of the Marquette. I'm only going to pick 3. Actually, eventually we only need 2, but I'll pick 3 because I want one for insurance in case one of the other canes or buds on the other canes may die. So my selection process is, first of all, is to look at the canes and to look at a good sturdy cane, maybe about 1/4, 3/8 of an inch. Run that all and then all the way up. This one's kind of short. I'm not going to take that one. I jump to another one instead of this one. Well, this one's fairly long. So this is a good candidate for cordoning at final. So we'll kind of save that one. Okay, that looks like a good one. This one, that one's questionable. This one looks good. And, wow, this one looks good. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get rid of the shorter one. And I will cut it down here by the base. Rid of it. Right? Get rid of this one. Now, the good thing, something you may want to keep in mind, if in fact what you're looking at appears to be a little noisy in that you've got laterals all over the place, one hint is to, as you're examining this, you can clean off some of these laterals to get, in fact, a better view of what you're looking at. Now, you'll also notice that when I'm cleaning or taking off the laterals, which is what I will do, you'll notice that when I cut a lateral away, I will not cut it at the main cordon. I will cut it maybe a 1/2 inch or more away. Why? Because at the node there could be a bud. And you can see here there is a very, very young bud. If I cut the lateral away too far, I will cut that bud. I don't want to cut that bud off because that bud is going to be new growth. So when you're cleaning laterals, clean it and cut it somewhat away from the main cane so that you don't cut the new bud off. All right, here's a lateral. That's a very good candidate for cordon. We'll keep that one. I will go with my next one. Let's take this lateral that I think I will in fact keep, but I'll know for sure. So I clean up here and you look at this so that you don't mistakenly cut the cane here instead of the lateral, because they look pretty good, but again, that's the lateral. Here's your main cane. Take it off there, 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 and up, 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 up. So I've got one that I cut, two that I cut, and three that I cut. Now what I can do is get rid of the rest that I do not need. So I'll clean the bottom up of the vine. And so there I have just the lateral there. Just be careful as to what you're going to cut, and wow, that's a pretty good lateral, but I don't, I don't need that. So what I have left, I have rough pruned the Marquette, and I have retained 3 canes that I have not cut tips off and that are sufficiently long so that when I do come back on my final prune and cordon, I have a nice long cane to cordon here. I have a nice long cane to cordon here. And if one of these, for any reason, have to be rejected, I have, in fact, a backup cane that I can use in either position. That's it for our rough pruning of the Marquettes. Thank you.